We spoke about last time, long time no speak, about how the Yidden lost contact, were chased out by the foundation of the state from Yerushalayim and HaKodesh. Spoke about tzaddikim, a couple of thousand Yidden. You see the Shalom recounted how they were sitting on the floor and crying. They thought after the Second World War, now they could actually talk to the Rebbeinu about the Kosel, but they lost that contact. They felt destroyed. And Michiel Mechel Chukasinski, together with other Svadish Godel, how they were crying that if we will live in Yerushalayim Shel Mata, Hashem says live in Yerushalayim Shel מעלה. Now comes the time we have to now delve into the return to Klal Yisrael, to Yerushalayim Shel Mata. The Gemara says, really, in order to understand what's going on, it would be appropriate to go through the words of the Navi Hoshaya Barichas in Perek Aleph to understand appropriately what actually transpired, what was the matzav. The Navi is pretty clear over there what's going on. But so whoever has email, is getting my emails, Bez Hashem will see a ganze shtickle on that. But I'm just going to go now to the Nekuda, what I want to bring out from that Navi. The Gemara says in Tiny Stuff, Hayam and Beis, what is the meaning of the pasuk? Bikirbecha Kodesh v'lo yavo be'ir. Within you, Bikirbecha Kodesh, there's Kedusha, Hashem is there, v'lo yavo be'ir, I won't come into the city. Mishim de Bikirbecha Kodesh v'lo yavo be'ir, because Hashem's within you. Because within you, there's Kedusha, I won't come into the city. What does that mean? What's going on? This is what Rabbi Yechanan said. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I will not come in to Yerushalayim Shel מעלה until I come to Yerushalayim Shel Mata. In fact, the Gemara, Mika Yerushalayim L'Mayla, is there Yerushalayim? Yeah, there's Yerushalayim downstairs, but is there Yerushalayim upstairs? Is Shemaim in the heavens? And yes, the Ksiv Yerushalayim Habnuya K'Isha Chil Yachtav, that Yerushalayim will be built together with the city, which it's mechuber with from the top. And the Zohar actually uses the lotion that Hashem Shriya Nishb'a Hashem, that he's not going to come to Yerushalayim Shel מעלה until he comes in Yerushalayim Shel Mata. What is the Yerushalayim Shel מעלה? The Gemara Chagiga Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis says, Omri Rabbi Yehuda said, Shnei Rekim, there's two Rekim. Shlokish says there's 7 Rekim. There's Viloin, Rekia, Shchokim, Zvil, Ma'oin, Machoin. I have 7 different Rekias. One of them is called Zvil. What's Zvil? Shebo Yerushalayim Beis Hamikdash Mizbeach Boni. In the Rekia, in the heaven of Zvil, there's Yerushalayim, and the Beis Hamikdash is built. And Mizbeach is built. Michol Sarah Godel Oimid. In Makrav Alo Karbim. And Michol Sarah Godel is Makrav Kavanas. That's what Yerushalayim Shel מעלה is. The Gemara is saying now, the Gemara in Tainus, is that Hashem is not going to come into that Yerushalayim. What does it mean to Yerushalayim Shel מעלה? It means to say that everything, the koyach, is l'mayla. All the umas kaviyachol have a sar l'mayla kidua. So too Klal Yisrael doesn't have sar and have the Rebbeinu Shalom. And when this kvod shemayim in the world, that means that Hashem is Yoshel al Kisei. It means his covet is in the olam. That's when I Sheichanad Mor v'Kodesh by Goldadia Lifnei Chisei Chivayacha. The Eibishter is Sheichin in his Kisei covet in Yerushalayim Shel מעלה. When Hashem is Sheichin, he's Yoshel al Kisei Chivayacha. That means to say that Kvod Shemayim is in the olam. Kaviyachol. Hashem is not Yoshel al Kisei Chivayacha in Yerushalayim. Then it means to say that Kvod Shemayim is not in this world. So Hashem is saying that I'm not going to bring up my covenant in this world unless your covenant is going to be restated with that. I will not reinstate my covenant unless it will be together with your covenant. And that is that what the Hashem says. I will not come in Yerushalayim shal Ma'ala until I come into Yerushalayim, until you come into Yerushalayim shal Mata. So, and that's why the Yidden were crying when they left. They felt that there's some switch turned off. That connection there was between us and Hashem and Yerushalayim shal Mata and Yerushalayim shal Ma'ala ceased to exist. And there was a terrible time. Although they had their own city, their own country, that wasn't the main thing. The main thing is a connection with Hashem. And that was only when they were under the rule of the Arabs, the Ottoman Empire. And they still cherished. There was something, if you could actually go close to the Shalim, to the Beis Hamikdash, could go to the Kaisel, then there must be some connection to Shalim Shamayla on a yichud, on a yachid basis, on an individual basis. It's true, the Umas Oila were shaded in Eretz Israel on Makkah Hamikdash, but at least on a yachid basis there was some type of Yerushalayim Shal Ma'ala connected to Yerushalayim Shal Mata. Every Jew that comes to Yerushalayim Shal Mata is Hashem, brings Hashem closer to in Yerushalayim Shal Ma'ala. But when they left, that stopped. But what happens when Klal Yisrael actually came roaring back to Yerushalayim Shal Mata? Klal Yisrael came roaring back to Yerushalayim Shal Mata. That must have been because Hashem said the time has come to return to Yerushalayim Shal Ma'ala. I want you to return with me. The time has come. I can't stand anymore out of Yerushalayim Shal Ma'ala. I want you to return with me. And that's what the Nesiv Shalom said after the 6-day war. I said I'll be nizgarish, pushed away from front of your eyes. But what did David say? I will still be able to look at the Heichal Katshecha, the Mokim HaMikdash. Sagt the Nesiv Shalom, yes, when it was 19 years ago, the War of Independence, when the old city fell to the Arabs, and a Yid wasn't able to go to the Mokim HaMikdash, a couple of thousand people sat down on the floor in Meish Arim, the yeshiva, and crying, and like we said before. But Ashreinu Ma'atayv Chalkeinu, B'shoha G'doyla Azayis. Great is our time now. Sheshov Herelon HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba'ez Panim Geluyim Shlo Yizach Hashem Dar. Hashem smiling to us. He's with a bright face. And He's giving us Geluyim, making Nisim that there was no other Dars that was Zeich to such Nisim. And He gave us back to Makkah HaMikdash. Shlo Yizaz Shchinim Misham. And He says the biggest Oisher, the biggest Tainig, a person, Hachi Godel Shehidi Margish Be'loma, the biggest Oisher, Tainig, a person has in his life, the time that he feels kiris, closeness to Hashem. He says, he says, there's no mokum that's more masugul to fear kiris Hashem than the kaisel Rabbi. Shehidi margish ki oimin neichich pnei Hashem. A person can feel feels that he's oimin pnei Hashem v'shoifech liba kamayim neichai. Baruch ato, you margish to ato. Shmois michedes neiches baruch. You march in other places about this topic, about how the Mokim HaMikdash, even in today's generation, even that's not even Mokim HaMikdash. It's right out of the Mokim HaMikdash. Kaisel is the wall of the Harabayis, not even in the Mokim HaMikdash. But even there, that's when you feel the biggest kirus Hashem in the whole world. He says that the Ma'uris HaYom the Tafkin of our time, B'Shazi, we have to see Merumas in the Pasuk. You saw what I did to Mitzrayim. I took you on the wings of an eagle, and I brought you to me. Hashem said, so he looked on the Nesiv Shalom, we saw what Hashem did, we zochit to the first nest. And we saw that Hashem, what it did to Mitzrayim, when he destroyed the Egypt and all other nations. And we saw the smiling face of Hashem that is Mekarev us. He brought us, He brought us back to Him. Baruch Shalom came to the Shalaim Shalmata, and he brought us to the Shalaim Shalmata when he went to the Shalaim Shalmaila. He don't say these words, but he does say the words, they brought us to Him. Where was that? We understand that was in the place of the Makim HaMikdash. Abishter brought us back. That's what we have to see, the Nisim, that we have to understand, that we Yisrael is skill of Amim. That's what the Seal Shalom said after the 6-Day War. The Vishnu Rebbe, Limra Chaim, in the time of the 6-Day War, when the Yidden, when they conquered Yerushalayim, the Boyehosh Rebbe, in the morning, called the Vishnu Rebbe. And he knew that even though the Imre Chaim, the Vishnu Rebbe, was very, very old, he's not sleeping. And he called him up in the morning, and he answered, and he said, you know, Rebbe, the Boyehosh Rebbe told the Vishnu Rebbe, we conquered the Kaisel. Thank Hashem. And they both started dancing on the telephone. Baruchi, Baruch Shemai. Thank you, Hashem. Baruch Shemai. Blessed is His name. The mother returned to his children. And that's how they were dancing on the telephone. And when he heard, and many people spoke about how the Vision Rebbe, the Imre Chaim, the Heilige Vision Rebbe, when they were Kovish the Kaisel, when they conquered the Kaisel, his hergish, his feelings were pouring. It's impossible to write. They said the feelings and what was going on, transparent, was going on over there. He was crying and he was dancing. Anyone that came into his room, he would say, the Kaisel's in our hands. And he says we should just not fall into the trap of saying that it was our power. Everyone else knows Hashem's power. And when they told him, they davened mincha by the Kaisel, he stood up from his bed. He was so weak, he was old. He stood up from his bed with much his feelings and instructions. It's impossible to write. And he called in anyone that he was able to find, and they started dancing and they started singing. He said, he brought me to the Har Kachit in Makim HaMikdash. And he brought in yain, wine and mezainis, and the dancing lasted for a long hour. And they were singing, davening Hashem shall build the Beis HaMikdash. And anyone that he called in, anyone that passed by, he told them to call in. And when they came back, when the first time he came to the Kaisel, he almost fainted. It looked like he fainted. And when he came to the cave of Rachel the first time, he said, Mama and Rachel, you don't have to cry anymore. When the Yidden went into Galus, you cried. Yeshchal Filasech, there was Hashem paid you back, Vishali Bonam Gevulam, and the Yidden returned to the Gevul. Don't cry anymore. Where we return to you, Mazel Tov Mama, Mazel Tov Mother. From today on, we are going to be guests by you for always. Same thing with Chesed Sarna. When he came to the cave of Rachel with all his Talmidim, he came into the cave of Rachel with a stick, and he took a stick and he banged down the tzin of the cave of Rachel, and he said, Rachel, Mama Rachel al Tifki, don't cry. You don't have to cry anymore. Chevron the Bachrim of Chevron came to you. Veinish Rachel, Veinish, don't cry, Rachel, don't cry. Aber Chevron the Bachrim, they're back. The Metzriach Mazuz, Hashem Yinkum Dava, after the 6-day war, when he spoke, it says in the pasuk, "V'yoydi kagoyim ani ki ani Hashem mekadosh Yisrael b'yoysi mikdash b'seichim l'olam." The goyim will know that I'm Hashem, the one that makes mekadosh makes holy the Yidden, when what the mikdash is within them for always. What does this mean? He says in Yerushalayim, all over the last 2,000 years, the nations, the Arabs and the Christians were fighting over it, and one from one hand to another hand. He says the Goyim are going to understand that of the Yidden are the holy ones when he's going to return Yerushalayim to his children, and that was then in the 6-day war. That's when we'll know that we are the ones. We were chased away from there. We were sent into exile, but we returned after 2,000 years. The Belzer Rebbe Zvechet Tzadik Kodesh Avracha, that the Rebbe Orzov told him once that seems to me that the Gula is very, very near. So the Belzer Rebbe said, "Vos reti, vos sagt dir? Der Weil hat mir nicht dem Kaisel Maravi, the Oras Machpela and the Kvuras Rachel. We don't have the Kaisel and the Oras Machpela and Kever Rachel. Wie kannst du sagen, the Gula is nunt? How could you say the Gula is nunt without the Kaisel and the Kever Rachel and Oras Machpela? The 6-Day War, we got it. Zok the Belzer Rebbe, now we could say he wasn't around then. But that's what he mean. When he was saying that when that happens, then we can say the Gula is very close. And the Moshe Marche Biederman, the Lulav Rebbe, before the 6-Day War, right before, and he was very scared about the war, and he said, Shabbos Kodesh, before, that when the Britons conquered Eretz Yisrael, my grandfather, David Simcha, was a very big Simcha. Why? Because now they could go daven, Yidden could go daven by the Moras Machpelah, when they couldn't go during the Turks. And the Rebbe said, you should just know, soon the Yidden are going to be able to go to the Moras Machpelah, the Kever Rachel, and Kaisel Amaravi, and will be able to bring the Geula. He understood the Lulav Rebbe and the Belzer Rebbe that when the Kever Rachel, the three main places in Eretz Yisrael, the Kaisel Amaravi, the Kever Rachel, and the Moras Machpelah are in our hands, then it will be very easy to make fast the Geula. The closer Rebbe said, Dvarim Neirom Ma'id. We can't understand it. We weren't able to say it unless someone that went through it. The closer Rebbe said, Shabbos after the 6th Day War, he was before Kiddush. He was standing by the Tish making Kiddush Friday night. Before he got to say Kiddush, he says, I remember now when I was in Auschwitz, in the death camps of Auschwitz. Chodesh Shivin. It was this time of the year. It was Shavuos. And I came to say Birchas Shachianu. We're in the Auschwitz. We came to say Birchas Shachianu. He says, close Rebbe, when he said Kiddush, everything was done with Kavanah in Auschwitz. Nothing he didn't do with his mind, fully there present. And it was hard for him to express Shachianu v'kimoni yidilazim and say, how could I say, thank you Hashem that I lived for this time to be in the death camp? What is so happy about? It's such a hard time. Dr. Rebbe, today we see what kind of shoitim that we are, that we didn't say Shachianu with a good kavanah, because everything was for the best. And right after that, he said Torah had nothing to do with this Akdama, and was a Pella. No one understood. It was just an interesting moment. And it was understood. It's understood from what he's trying to say. Is, yes, we went through a Second World War. But Hashem wanted to bring Hashem wanted to bring us back to Him. Going back to the Shalayim Shalmata. Hashem goes back to Shalayim Shamayla. Is the time that Hashem is actually returned to be Marbe Kvoida Yizbarach Ba'olam. That was the first step of going back home. Not just to His land, but to His house. It was the first step. And there was of course we should have made Shachion and B'Simcha, because that was the reason what brought us to Makkah and Mikdash. In those painful times, it was all to get us ready to come to the Makkah and Mikdash. That's what he meant to say. That's what he would try to point out. That was the Klosenberg Rebbe's feelings of that time after the 6th Day War. But our main point over here is to discuss how Klal Yisrael did tshuva. And over here, we have to be, in this moment of when Klal Yisrael returned to the Makkah Mikdash, that was the time that the Tshuva movement really started to take off. That's when the Yidden started returning to Hashem. That will we continue to in the next video.